Peace, Love, Liberty Radio version 4.0. Prepare for launch.
OTC is go.
Packetbus is go.
PTC is go.
LPS is go.
Houston flight is go.
Molotov.
STM is go.
Safety comms is go.
STU is go.
LRD is go. SRO is go.
CDR is go.
Launch Director, NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed at this time.
99, proceeded, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Right away, Houston.
Consequences so severe, so pull your trigger quickly, dear. Our patriots are acting up, let's punish them with fear. Hey, hey!
Hey, welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at the newly updated FPPradio.com. Yeah, that's right, I have updated the site. I'll talk about that here in just a minute. But, you know, for a while, I've been saying I need a good moniker. I need a good nickname. I need a good way to describe myself, and I've been asking for you to send me your thoughts and, well, you know, the absolute best description. And I've got this down. I saw it just after 9 o'clock this morning. Posted it on Facebook. Says, it's just after 9 a.m., but I already have the quote of the day, possibly the quote of the week, the month, and the year. Darryl Perry, who is like the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. So that's it. That is the way that I'm going to introduce myself on this show from henceforth. I'm your host, your uncut cocaine of libertarianism, Darryl W. Perry. So, I mentioned about the update to the website. Now, this came about because of SoundCloud. Now, I like SoundCloud. I'm thrilled with the product that they provide. But, you know, every now and then, companies wind up making decisions that will affect some of their customers. And I know all I can do is talk about it, the free market, whatnot, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But still, when a company gets rid of a service that I was using, then, yeah, I'm going to complain about it a little bit until I find a workaround and some way to fill the need that their service was providing. So, what happened with SoundCloud? They have an announcement that they are getting rid of groups. And they're getting rid of groups because not a lot of people were using groups. Apparently, not as many people were using the group function on SoundCloud as SoundCloud was hoping. And so they're discontinuing that. The groups still exist. You can't put any new tracks into the groups. I was using groups because I have several different shows all under the banner of FPP Radio. So FPP Radio is the audio arm of Free Press Publications. There are 3 different shows that are produced under FPP Radio. There is this show, Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, gets produced 3 times a week. There is the daily FPP Radio News that gets produced 7 days a week. And then there's the longest running, the one that's been going on for almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years at the end of this month. That is the FPP Freedom Minute. Now, all of those different shows, there is the RSS feed for FPP Radio, rss.fppradio.com. That gets you every show that I upload. But what if you only want to catch Peace, Love, Liberty Radio? Well, there's an RSS feed for that. But what I had been doing with SoundCloud was using the groups to make it easy to embed a player onto the website. And, well, they're getting rid of the groups, which means they're getting rid of the group player, which means not going to be able to just put in, here's a SoundCloud embed code, and there you go. So what I've had to do was find a widget on WordPress that allows me to put in specific RSS feeds. And, well, I did that. Did not necessarily like the way that fit into the site the way it was, so wound up doing some changes. I have a new theme, so go check it out, fppradio.com, And there's also, because every Wednesday I answer your questions as part of that Ask Me Anything, there's now a page on FPP Radio. Go there. It's in the menu bar. All the way up at the very top. Ask Me Anything. Click on that. Send your questions. AMA@FPPradio.com or FPPradio.com/AMA. So there you have the updates and the news about FPP Radio, the changes, and why those changes were necessary. And as I mentioned a couple of days ago, episode 350 is coming up. I am working, not quite feverishly, but I'm working on getting some modified intro beds. Hope to have those ready for episode 350 next Wednesday, which, by the way, just happens to be an Ask Me Anything. So again, send those questions, ama@fppradio.com. Now, jumping into version 4.0 of the show. Version 4.0, of course, being the version of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. And, at episode 350, I'm going to stop calling it version 4.0 because, well, it's pretty well entrenched at this point. Plus, there's going to be a slight upgrade, if you catch my drift. So, version 4.0, that's the well-entrenched aspects of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, where we discuss self-help, personal relationships, and how you can become a better version of you while I become a better version of me. And I've been talking a little bit recently about introverts, introverted extroverts, extroverted introverts. And, well, I've got some information here about certain things that introverts, also sometimes called loners, will do that actually wind up making them possibly better friends, and why people that travel alone might wind up having an advantage over those who don't. What exactly am I talking about? Well, I've got the article from lifehack.org, and they say one of the biggest attractions of travel is the power that it holds to trigger psychological growth. When you return from a major trip, you will have changed. This is especially true if you are traveling alone. And I absolutely love to travel, and most of the time when I do so, I do travel alone. Not necessarily for these reasons, but well, we'll tell you the benefits of traveling alone when we come back here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap, Spendabit, and Amazon at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com. The Doublespeak Dictionary by Leslie Starr O'Hara satirizes the marked difference between the ideal of we the people and the reality of we the elite, while offering an insightful glimpse into the clockworks of the totalitarian mind. Ever irreverent but never irrelevant, the Doublespeak Dictionary serves as a subversive and humorous but timely reminder that the emperor has no clothes. The Doublespeak Dictionary is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry, online at fppradio.com.
Why should you travel alone? Is it better to travel alone? Well, they say that when you come back from a big trip, you've changed. Especially if you've traveled alone. It does not matter your age, your sex, or your background. Solo travel will change you for the better. Not only will you return with new memories and possibly new friends, but solo travel holds the power to seriously increase your mental strength. So solo travelers of all demographics have one thing in common: they are mentally strong. But why? Well, they say that traveling alone proves that you can enjoy yourself even when no one else is around. Well, what do you mean no one else is around? The airplane's full of people. The city that you're going to, there's millions of people, or thousands, or hundreds, depending on where you wind up going. I used to work for an airline, and I traveled all the time. I think on average about 3 out of the 4 weeks in a month, on my days off, I was going somewhere when I worked for the airline. There were times when I would just go somewhere for like 4 hours. I'd look at the flights. I've never been to this city. There's a lot of seats on the flight there. There's a lot of seats available on the flight back. I can go there for 4 hours. All right, I'll go have lunch. The first time I went to the Bahamas, I was in Nassau for all of 5 hours. That included getting off the plane, going through customs, explaining that I was there just for lunch, having lunch, walking around for just a bit, taking a taxi back to the airport, going back through customs, going through whatever the security, if it was separate, I don't remember, and then waiting to board the flight. I was there for all of 5 hours. First time I went to Key West, actually the only time I've been to Key West, I think I was there for about 6.5 hours, maybe. I went to Little Rock, Arkansas, was there for 7 hours. I got off the plane, had absolutely no clue what I was going to do in Little Rock. I did know that there was a bus that went from the airport to downtown. Get on the bus, I asked the bus driver, I said, "Hey, Mr. Bus Driver Man, can you recommend a good place to eat? Don't give me a chain. Give me a local establishment, someplace that's got really good food." He said, "You go to the Flying Fish." I said, "All right, I'll go to the Flying Fish. Tell me where to get off and how far of a walk it is." So he told me. So I get off of the bus, obviously, and then I walked a couple blocks. All right, these guys open at 11. It's like 9:30. Walk around for a little bit. Go back just after 11. There's a line out the door. Like, these people just opened. There's a line out the door. I stand in line. I say, "Is this the line for the Flying Fish?" They said, "Absolutely." So then I'm talking to people, and, what's good here? They're like, "Everything's good here." I walk inside. They've got the menu written up on the walls. I'm looking at the menu, and I'm taking a step forward. I'm looking at the menu, taking a step forward. Everything looks good. I have no clue what I want to eat, and I'm about 2 people away from the guy that's taking my order. I take a step forward. I'm looking at the menu. I take a step forward. The guy says, "What you want?" And I just decided on the spot what I wanted. He said, "All right, we'll have it out to you in just a couple minutes." I get my food. I sit down. I eat. It was one of the absolute best meals I've ever eaten. I don't remember what it was. I think I had catfish. I really don't know. I just remember it was absolutely amazing. But if I was traveling with friends, then I probably would not have had that sort of experience. It probably would have been something to where I was discussing with my friends, okay, where are we going to go? And I would not have just gone somewhere, at the suggestion of the bus driver. It would have been this group decision of me and my friends. Now, I'm not saying anything wrong about traveling with friends or traveling with family, but I've traveled with people and I've traveled by myself, and I have to say I love the experience of traveling by myself. It is so freeing because then you have nobody else that is holding you back or keeping you somewhere or moving you forward at something other than your pace. I went to Boise, Idaho one time. I had like 3 things that I wanted to do, one of which was to go see the Smurf Turf. If you don't know what the Smurf Turf is, Google it. I wanted to go to the Sports Humanitarian Hall of Fame on the campus of Boise State, right next to the stadium with the Smurf Turf. And then there was one other thing I wanted to do that I don't remember what it was. But I wound up, as I was walking around downtown Boise, noticing like a botanical garden that I just randomly decided to walk through. I noticed a historical museum that I walked through. And I spent more time in that than I originally had planned. But I had nobody, telling me, "No, Darryl, we need to go do this thing." Or, "Hey, let's not do this. Let's go do this." So it was on my pace. It was my time. But again, They're saying that traveling alone proves that you can enjoy yourself even when no one else is around, at least no one else that you know. And once you realize that you're capable of having fun without relying on someone else to either generate activity ideas or to approve of your choices, you will be tremendously empowered. You may even find that you prefer to spend significant amount of time by yourself rather than enslaved to someone else's choices. People who travel alone depend on no one else for a good time. Taking a solo trip also means that you trust yourself. It's down to you and you alone to choose where you will go, what you will do, how you will finance your trip, where you will stay, if you stay anywhere, and so on. Speaking of the where you will stay, when I went to Jamestown, Virginia, and I had always wanted to go to Jamestown, ever since, finding out that Jamestown existed. And that's not something that I was ever really taught about in school. Because in school, they teach you about the failed colony of Roanoke, and then they tell you about the Pilgrims. They just sort of skip all over Jamestown for some reason. Learned about Jamestown probably in college or after, not as part of any official curriculum if it was during my college years. And I was like, wow, this place seems fascinating. I have to go. And so it happened to be during the 400th anniversary year of the settlement of Jamestown. I went to Jamestown, flew into, I think it was Newport News, Virginia, took a bus to Williamsburg, and then took another bus to Jamestown, and walked around for a while. Went back to Williamsburg, decided I don't want to fly out today. Changed my flight, found a hotel, got a room for like $80. Wouldn't have been able to do that if I was traveling with somebody else now, would I? Why is solo traveling better? Well, I'll finish telling you here in moments on Peace, Love, and Liberty Radio.
It is the year 91,001 BCE. Witness humanity's origins in Hyperchronius, a classic role-playing game for Windows PCs with a story like no other game before. A liberty-oriented experience that is not to be missed. Go to zog.ninja to get your copy of Hyperchronius today. Use the code FPP to get $1 off. Hyperchronius, zog.ninja, code FPP.
You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and Numery supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's FANS.fppradio.com.
Hi, I'm Nick Hazelton from the Anarcho-Yakutalism podcast, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. You might be thinking to yourself, Darryl, you sound awfully excited. I know they say you're the uncut cocaine of libertarianism, but are you on cocaine? Absolutely not. For some reason, I'm just full of energy today, and I know that it shows. So let's go back to this list of things that people who travel alone have in common. First and foremost, traveling alone means that you can enjoy yourself when no one else is around, at least no one else that you know. Traveling by yourself means that you trust yourself. People who travel alone are also adaptable. If you've ever spent time exploring a number of new countries and cultures, this means that you are adaptable. Forcing yourself outside of your comfort zone is always a risk. And if you were to fully enjoy the experience, then you need to remain flexible when encountering new ways of life. Such experiences mean you are less likely to fear change in other areas of your life, and that makes you more likely to take risk. Now, we're not necessarily talking the jump out of an airplane without a parachute and try to land in a net type of risk. We're not talking about going spelunking without a flashlight. and without a pocket knife. But it could be that. Or it could just be taking that leap of faith, quitting the job you absolutely hate, and knowing that things will work out, that you will find a job that you like. Leaving that bad relationship, knowing that things will work out. Refusing to get into a relationship that you know will be bad, because you would rather be alone than be tied down to somebody that doesn't respect you the way you should be respected. Those are the types of risk that people who travel alone are willing to take. Traveling alone also means that you learn to communicate well with others. Sometimes you have to face a new language or a language barrier or a cultural difference that needs to be overcome with a bit of ingenuity and patience. This has the positive effect of making you more willing to meet other people halfway. Whether at home or abroad, you may even end up with new friends as a result. Now, one of the most interesting experiences that I've ever had did not come from a trip that I took by myself. It did not even come from a trip that I took with other people. It came from a job that I had where I worked on a dairy farm. Worked there for about a year and a half. Not long after I started, I got put on a shift with two guys from Costa Rica. One of the guys spoke absolutely no English. No habla inglés. The other guy spoke very little English. Me, I spoke very little Spanish. Mi español es un poquito. Mi español es no bueno. But somehow we made it work. Somehow he was able to teach me enough Spanish, and I was able to teach him enough English to where we could communicate and know everything that needed to be done over the course of that 8-hour shift. All of the cows got milked. Everything got cleaned. Everything that needed to be done got done. We made it work. But again, it was just one of the most interesting experiences ever, to where there was this language barrier. I never in a million years thought that I would be working with somebody that did not really speak the language. And it wasn't because, this is America, you speak English in America. Not because of that at all. I just had never even thought of, oh yes, I'll be working a job that I'm working with somebody that doesn't understand a lot of English. And then something very interesting happened. This guy, he told me, he said, once I get 10,000 American dollars, I go back to Costa Rica, I live like a king. Never have to work again. I was like, wow, that's absolutely amazing. And then one day he just didn't show up to work. And the boss asked me, do you know where he is? I said, nope. The boss said, did he tell you he was leaving? I said, nope, because he did not say, I'm leaving next week. He just said, when I get X, then I'll leave. I thought, oh, okay, did not even think that's going to be in another week. But again, it was just very interesting. I would not change that experience for anything. Number 5 on the list of things that people who travel alone have in common. They are self-reliant. Being solely responsible for your own well-being and enjoyment encourages you to develop self-reliance. If you go traveling for any significant length of time, you will run into difficulties and obstacles. What matters is not so much whether you face these challenges, but how you overcome them. When there is no one there to bail you out, you will find yourself digging deep to access inner resources you may have never even known you possessed. If you are to successfully make it from one place to another, lining up trains and planes as necessary, you need to be able to organize yourself. Traveling alone gives you plenty of opportunities to practice this important skill. Obviously, this can only yield positive returns in other areas of your life, such as maintaining a clean house and meeting deadlines at work. Now, I know there are some people that will say, well, there's studies that show people that are consistently late have certain things in common, and they're smarter, and they're this, and they're that. But when you consistently are late and you disrespect people by showing them that their time doesn't matter, you are a complete a-hole. Now, we'll continue this article here in the closing moments of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? Will anybody care? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry, online at fppradio.com.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Talking about people who travel alone. Do you do it? If not, you probably should if you can afford it. Now, don't go into debt. Do not go into debt because you heard Darryl say, well, traveling alone makes me a better person. There's all of these benefits of traveling alone. Yeah, there are, but don't go into debt to do it. Only travel if you can afford it. Now, what else winds up happening, or what are some benefits of traveling alone? If you travel alone, you gain the valuable opportunities for self-reflection. Taking trips alone also gives you the time and space to engage in meaningful self-reflection. Without a travel partner by your side, it's up to you to make and create your own sense of meaning for every trip. Self-reflection can be painful at times, but also fulfilling. Time alone whilst traveling affords you the chance to take a careful look at yourself, your life, and your experiences. So the next time you travel solo, congratulate yourself. With every trip, you are increasing your mental resilience and building a useful psychological skill set that will help you grow in other areas of your life. And you heard me talk about, a few days ago, you heard me talk about how I hate small talk. Now, one of the things that I absolutely love to do when I meet new people is talk about travel experiences. Because you can learn so much about somebody from the places they've been, the things they've done, the stuff they've seen. You can learn so much. And I enjoy learning. I love learning about other people. I love learning about other cultures. I love learning about history. And there are things that you can learn about history when you travel. Because almost every place you go is going to have a historical museum. Almost every place you go is going to have monuments of various events that have happened in that area. And if you go visit these places, then you will learn the history of the place, you will learn the history of the people, and it will cause you to learn so much. Because when you learn the history of where people came from, then you can learn where they're going. I know it sounds weird, but when you can see where people have come from, you can see what sorts of decisions they're going to make in the future that works for you as well as everybody else. When you look at your past, you can help determine your future.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copyheart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas, which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.